Alrighty, testing 2 1 2. Welcome back to Gamers Guide to Productivity. Of course, I'm your host, Nico Pingan, and today we're joined by a guest who knows what it takes to scale both business and life. We have Young Han with us. Young, he is an entrepreneur, operator, and he's the host of the Girl Dad Show, where he shares his experience as a leader, as a father, and as a content creator. From building systems that drive growth to finding purpose beyond the numbers, he brings a fresh perspective on leadership, productivity, and balance to all the listeners and viewers. So get ready for a conversation that is blending strategy with heart. And thank you so much for joining us today.
Nico, thank you so much for having me, man. I really appreciate the time.
No, that is a very amazing that you're able to balance that. And I do want to start with that. How do you balance time? Because as we heard, you're a father, you have a business, you create content, and I know that must be insanely difficult.
Yeah, it can be, and so I can give you the simple answer, and then you could poke at it to get the more complicated version of it. But I break it down into time boxing and inputs and outputs, right?
Mm,
So I allocate a certain amount of time for each aspect of my life and the various projects within it. And then I use my best abilities and intuition and knowledge to try to achieve the desired result, a reasonable result within that time frame. So if I give myself, 3 hours for a project, then
mhm.
I'll have to either degrade the quality or do that 3 hours every week for 6 weeks or whatever that may be. But I'll basically try to like compartmentalize it into a box of time and execute all these things in that fashion. So I have a macro time box of all the different
Mhm.
things I want, and then I go into each box and I say, here's what I want to do in that time, and then I try to micromanage it in that sense. I'll give you a better example. I have a business called PipApp, and I've been building this business for 2.5 years, and it is literally the crappiest business ever. It's a micro SaaS for solo photographers, right? It's literally
Okay.
a budgeting tool for solo photographers. I've been building this app for 1 hour a week for 2.5 years. And
Wow.
it was really around the idea of can I build a business in 1 hour a week? And the whole idea of time boxing and doing things. It was a terrible plan. At 2.5 years later, I'm still trying to get it to launch, right? Because by the time you spend 15 minutes building where was I at last time, getting the
Mhm.
context, okay,
Mhm.
then you actually do 30 minutes of hard work. Then you have to spend the last 15 minutes wrapping it up so your next hour next week is actually fruitful. So you're ending up doing 30 minutes a week, and it's just a terrible business. But lo and behold, it might take me 6 years, it might take me 7 years. I will have a business that does a micro SaaS for solo photographers.
Wow, that's actually pretty intriguing. The consistency and the dedication that you're able to put towards something that's so passionate.
Yep.
How do you balance that in regards to the projects that are more hobby-ish versus projects that are more this is going to sustain food on the table?
Yeah, I mean, not all of them are me as the operator, right? Some of them are more operationally functional. So I'll bring in partners and hire staff and grow it. And for example, I own a pool cleaning company. I've owned it for 3.5 years. We'll do a little over $4 million, our fourth year in business. And I built that from scratch with a couple of hours a week. I hired a
Mm,
GM. I partnered with them and I built out operating systems, helped him time box his time. I spent my couple of hours a week time boxing his 50 hours a week. Does that make
wow.
sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then we built a pretty big business. And now we have almost 22 employees and we're growing really fast. And then I don't know if you got this in my bio, but I currently own 13 businesses. So most of them are actually operating functionally, and over seven of them make good enough money for me to cash flow from. Not a
Yeah.
lot. I'm still working. But
I know that's why
there's
you're
enough
here.
there. There's enough there. Yeah. And if for those people that are listening that say that it's not possible for them, it totally is. I did all of this from a 9 to 5 job, paycheck to paycheck.
Mm,
5 years ago, moved to a small town America where there's a population of 4,000 people to lower my cost of living.
wow.
Heightened up my competency and valuable skill set. I honed one skill set really, really high, and then sold it for as high as I could, and made a lot of money, and then used that money to start building these business assets. And so this is all happening in the last 4 years. So if you had talked to me 5 years ago, I wouldn't have owned a single one of these businesses.
Wow. So that's literally the consistency and the dedication.
Yeah, I
Um,
think so. Yeah, yeah.
and during that time, I'm sure there were some bumps along the way. So how did you handle those setbacks while not losing the momentum?
I listen. I mean, this is going to be a little bit weird and a little controversial, especially because it's not the norm. But I say lean into the pain, man. It sucks to lose. It sucks to hurt, and business is not easy. It is literally paying someone to punch you in the. Oh, I shouldn't say face. I'll say punch you in the gut like every single day. It's like literally paying someone to punch you in the gut every day. It is the most heart wrenching, gut wrenching, risky, mentally draining ordeal you'll do,
Mm,
and there's nothing simple about it. And the risks, even if you have a really well laid plan, really good experience, really good capital, you still run the risk of failing. I mean, the chance of
right.
failure is so high in business. And so my recommendation is when you fail a business, you fail a project, you fail a task, or something goes bad, don't fight it. Just lean into it. Cry if you need to cry, and be upset if you need to go on a 3 day bender. Go on a 3 day bender, and just go be depressed, and then get sad. Let yourself be sad, because the more you fight that sadness, and the more you're like, oh, it's all right. I'm okay. I'm okay. And we, especially males, will do that because they're tough guys, right? Like
Right.
it prolongs that depression.
Mm,
Whereas if you're just like, oh man, I feel awful, I failed it, I suck, oh da da da, and you're like, people are trying to make you feel better. You're like, no, 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 I'm okay. I'm okay failing. I just need to fail and I need to suck for a little bit, because
right.
you'll get out of that stage a lot faster, and then you'll get back on the horse and be able to tackle the next project much quicker.
Oh man, that was a great analogy for literally not letting life beat you up. That is
I
so true.
I don't know what gamers your listeners are, but I will tell you that gamers have this characteristic. I used to play World of Warcraft. I'm OG
Hey.
though, so I'm like old school, beyond before Outside Lands, before the expansion in Outside Lands. So I'm like OG, and I like it consumed my life, man. I spent like
Mm,
8 hours a day on that, and I slept 4 hours a day, and I worked 10 hours a day, and you know what I mean. It was terrible, man. I love that game so much. And I will tell you, you fail constantly. You have to build
hmm.
these kind of macro plans to level up your character to achieve all
Yeah.
these things. And there's all these micro things you have to do to time box to get to that bigger thing. And you're failing the entire time as you map out your path to getting there. And you have to learn how to deal with failure, losses. And if you're in the PvP realm, getting owned and you know what I mean, destroyed without any
Felt that.
plans or variables. I gamers have that mentality already. You have that
Mm.
mentality. You just don't know how to You may not know how to transfer that skill set to business, but that skill set is already there for most gamers.
Dang, that's so well explained too. How you can just keep getting up because in games, that's how it is, you know. And
Yeah,
I would find it even more fun that it's harder to get to, the boss fight or harder to beat the boss. Because if it's a
totally.
little too easy, then it's like it's not that big of a challenge.
That's a really interesting point, man. I love that you said it like that, because, I've been talking to a lot more wealthier people. I should say it that way. I was going to say rich people, but they're wealthy, and just trying to consume as much content and mentality and ideas from the people that I want to be like.
Hmm.
And it's funny, man, because that's literally what they say. They say, like, don't over optimize. Don't ever like get so operationally tight that you're not needed. Like,
Mm,
the point isn't money. The point is the journey of money. And
exactly.
and I look at them and I'm like, are you depressed? And like, I kid you not, most of them are depressed.
Mm,
Most of them are depressed. Most of them are like, I don't know who wants me for my money. I don't know who wants me for
mm,
my brain. Like, it's really hard to tell. And I'm also like it's hard for me to get back in the race because I'm like kind of cushy now. And then, but it's also like hard to stay out because I want to be involved and do something and have purpose. And so I know it's a first world problem, but for whatever it's worth, you hit on something that's very, very sage, because I hear that across the board, that like it's all about that chase. It's all about
hmm.
striving. It's not becoming $1 million person. It's the journey to become $1 million person.
Facts.
And that purpose is really fun, man. That purpose is really the happiness that you're seeking.
No, for sure. And that just brings me to, asking one of these tough questions.
Yeah,
What would you say motivates you more, solving problems or building opportunities?
that's a good one. I'd have to say solving problems, which is kind of antithesis to what I brand myself as.
Mm,
Because I sell kind of this brand of like, you can do it, and like go build your freedom and get your financial freedom going, and do build operating systems to get your time back, and that's kind of my brand. But deep down inside, man, I just love solving problems. I'm the smartest dumb guy in the room. I want to know how the toilet works. I want to know. I want to crank the wrench on the plumbing. I want to open up the cabinet, see what's inside, and see how the things work. Like I can't stop myself from wanting to be the problem solver and learn how everything works. And I just love fixing things and getting in there. I want to know the mechanics of everything. So, um,
Hmm.
yeah, I'll just be vulnerable and tell you the truth. Yeah, that's actually the case. I have to fight myself all the time and just like bite my lip and say, "Hey, this is your direction. You give me a plan on how you want to achieve." It's hard to delegate. Let's just say it that way.
Is
It's hard
that
to
why?
feel.
Is that why essentially like building systems or helping others build systems comes so naturally because you're just a natural problem solver?
I think so. Maybe that's what it is. That's a really good analysis, man. I feel like I owe you some money now for being my therapist here. Yeah, I think that's probably right. Yeah. How about yourself?
Hmm.
How would you answer that question?
For me, I'm a natural problem solver.
Oh, nice.
I love engineering, so even if I'm not tinkering hands on, my
Yeah.
brain is trying to formulate how is that working? How did it get put together? Can I take it apart?
Hell yeah.
Can I replace a piece and it still function? What if I added this piece here and make it more effective and more efficient or change what it's set to do? So that's how my brain is always consistently thinking.
Hell yeah. That's awesome, man. Um, that's great.
Now I did
Yeah.
want to know. Oh,
Oh,
what were you gonna say?
no, nothing. I was just complimenting you on your answer. I love it.
How do you know, because you do so much, how do you know when or at what point it's time to delegate something, that it's no longer, your task, it's time for someone else to start handling it?
It's kind of a loaded question because you first have to answer what your end goal is, right? Because like, um, I've coached business owners that literally I've spent 3 or 4 months helping them make more money, and then they're just as depressed. And you come to find out that they didn't actually want more money; they just wanted more time. They just equated money with time.
Mm,
And once I figured that out, I've helped 2 owners already literally fire themselves. So we basically got the business big enough to hire a GM so they can go back to being a designer. They like, I
wow.
really love being a designer, but this business got so big that now I'm trapped in being a CEO and a leader and doing all this stuff. And it's like, I just want to design. And I'm like, great, let's hire a GM. They'll run your business, they'll grow it for you, and you just go be an amazing designer. What do you care? Your paycheck's the same. It's still
Mm,
your business.
hmm.
You're just now doing what you love, and you have a business. So, to answer that question, you have to really. Oh, and then another owner really just wanted to work. They wanted to make the same amount of money working less hours. That's really what it was. They're like,
Hmm.
they don't want more money. They just wanted more time freedom. And they still loved what they did. So they just wanted to work 30 hours a week, making the same amount of money. And so, really helped them build the business so that it operated in that fashion, right? So they could work less but make the same amount. And you have to figure out what you want first, and then once you
Mm.
figure that out, that'll dictate a lot of the decisions on when you delegate versus when you do.
Now, for you personally, when you are working, how, and especially because you have so many different things that you work on, how do you find the difference between being busy and then actually being effective?
Man, that's a really good question. So I do weekly, monthly, quarterly, semi-annual, and annual time audits. So
Mm,
essentially, I track every hour that I live, like a game, like a
like a
computer game.
gamer, like
Literally
Sim.
like a gamer. Yeah, yeah. So I just track it all and color code it into various
Wow.
categories. And then at the end of the week and at the end of the month, I typically go, how do I feel about my body? How do I feel about my relationships? How do I feel about my business? How do I feel about my income? How do I feel about my wife and my kids? How do I feel about my friends and my, whatever. And I have like 6 or 7 categories that I list out and I score and rank, right? And then I look at all my inputs. How many hours did I spend in what categories? And then I make a guesstimation to say, here's the hours adjustments that I'm going to make for next month. And I say, hey, I'm going to decrease this, increase that, da da da. And then within those hours that I have dictated, I try to frame up what I can achieve in those 6 hours for that, 3 hours for this, 2 hours for that. And then I requalify what I'm going to do with those hours. And then I assess how I feel the next month. And then I say, oh, I physically feel better, but I feel less unprofessional. I'd rather be more professionally successful for the next 6 months than lose sleep. And then I'll just dial those inputs and outputs down.
So you were your first own system, essentially.
Yeah, I mean, I guess so. I mean, it's funny talking to you about it because when I share this with people, people think I'm a lunatic.
I do the same thing, but I don't write it down. I keep it in my head.
Oh, really?
You write it down. That is it. And
Bro,
color coded? That's
bro,
crazy.
can I please encourage you to write it down? Just use Clockify or Toggle. There's these free apps. You could literally just clock in and out, and
Mm,
then they can color code it for you and generate reports. The reason why I encourage you to write it down and use an app to track it
yeah.
is because you're wasting calories holding it in your head.
Mm,
You should do this once in a while. So if you only
hmm.
waste your calories once a week to say, hey, I'm just going to live in the week, do what I'm supposed
Yeah.
to do today. Here's my assignments. Here's what I'm supposed to eat. Here's what I'm supposed to sleep. And you try to protect it as best as you can. You
Hmm.
don't have to focus about, oh, am I staying on? It's like, okay, it's like this. Let me explain it this way. It's like when you say, I want to lose 20 pounds this year. That's my New Year's resolution. And
Hmm.
then month 9 comes and you still haven't lost 20 pounds, right? It's freaking
Mm,
hard if you keep thinking about the top level goal.
right.
But if you break down losing 20 pounds into 3 things, so you're going to say, I'm going to sleep better, I'm going to eat better, and I'm going to work out more. So month 1, I'm going to work out twice a week. I'm going to take 2 walks this week, and I'm going to eat 2 salads this week, and I'm going to go to sleep without my phone 1 hour before bed. The
Mm,
next month, I'm going to do 3 walks in a week, 3 salads a week, and I'm going to do 2 hours without my phone for twice a week, whatever, right? And you just keep incrementally increasing it, knowing that you
mm.
don't have to think about the larger 20-pound goal anymore. You're just laddering up into the micro steps that lead to good behaviors that lead into the end result. So now you're actually much more likely to lose 20 pounds by focusing on the day-to-day tasks, not wasting calories, constantly worrying about the 20 pounds. How am I losing 20 pounds? How am I losing 20 pounds? No, you're just doing bite-sized steps and incrementally increasing. By the 12th month, you'll have created really great habits and the inputs that derive the end goal.
Dang, that's literally baby stepping the way to productivity.
Yeah. Sorry, my kid wants to say hi.
So I was just saying that's baby stepping the most efficient way that I've heard about how to be proficient and productive. You know,
Mhm.
I know you used weight gain, but for me, that could be literally anything from muscle gain to trying to learn a new skill. Because I remember you mentioned that you went to a remote town with 4,000 people and you got your skills up. So it kind of lets me know that that's what you spent your time on is developing those skills, and that way eventually month 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, you're very proficient at whatever you focused on.
Yeah, that's a interesting way to look at it. I will say the skill that I worked on was probably that. Yeah, operating and operationalizing and those things. But I will say that was not kind of forefront of my mind. It was kind of in the back of my mind. The
Mm,
forefront was more technical skills, right? Like learning how to do financial modeling, learning how to do program management, learning how to execute change management. Like, so there's these technical skills that I knew that I could sell for high value, right? So if you
mm,
look at the marketplace and you look at the market and see what people are paying for and what they're willing to pay for, I came into this saying I needed a lot of capital to invest in myself to basically test building businesses. So I
right.
needed a large amount of capital. I'm not rich. I was living paycheck to paycheck as a W2. So
Hmm.
I had to figure out ways to increase my revenue or my income as high as I could while I lowered my cost of living. So I had disposable cash to make investment bets. Does that make sense? And so
100.
I learned a technical skill that I knew that I could sell for a higher rate than I was making.
Mm. And you dedicated yourself. And just like with the weight gain, you're not focusing on the end result, just on what can you do today, essentially, that's going to help you eventually get there.
That's right. Yeah. And I bought the time by just going to somewhere low cost.
Now, how do you delay gratification? Because there's some people that they want, the instant success. Oh, they tried it for 5 minutes. I didn't lose the 20 pounds. Yeah, I tried playing the ukulele. I can't play. I tried coding. It's not working. How do you delay that gratification?
I I don't I don't. I mean, the and again, I'm not trying to trigger anybody or piss off anybody, but you really just don't want it bad enough and there's nothing wrong with that. Like
Mm,
if you can't stay consistent to your goal and you can't, that just means you don't want it bad enough.
mm,
The only inverse thing I'll tell you is stop bitching about it then.
mm.
Yeah, so it's okay. It's okay if you're like you go through the motions. You're like, there's
Right.
tons of times I stop businesses or I'll shut things down or I'm like, oh, this project is stupid. I hate it, and I'll stop it after 2 months on a 6 month goal because I don't like it. But I'm
Mm,
not going to sit there and cry about it, saying, oh, I really wish I could do that, or oh, I really wish it. You know what I mean? I'm just like, oh, I didn't want it bad enough to sacrifice 6 months of consistent training or development to go get it. So I just kind of let it go, and then I make the conscious decision and work on something else that inspires me, motivates me, and is worth it to me to push through.
How do you find um, the ways that you're going to prioritize? As you mentioned, it might be 2 months in and you see something's not working. How do you prioritize,
Man,
especially?
you're asking really good questions, dude. This is like so funny because I do podcasts all the time, and you're hitting like some amazing questions. Okay, so this one's a weird one because I do it through a time value calculation. I essentially try
Mm,
to calculate how long I think this will take me to achieve the desired result with the amount of time. So let's say I'm in the middle of a business. Let's say you and I are building a business, and I'll say, "Hey, Nico has these skills. I have these skills. It's not going the way that I think, but I think if we had like $60,000 and Nico put in 8 hours a week for 6 weeks, and I put in 10 hours a week for 6 weeks, we should be able to achieve these if we spent this amount of money doing this, right? It's kind of a complicated calculation, but I learned financial modeling for this exact reason, so you can like build these models. And if you're an engineer, you should be able to do that as well. And I think most gamers can naturally build models. So for whatever that's worth,
got
go
it.
learn how to do modeling. Okay, so then you do that calculation, then you derive
Mhm.
a simple calculation, simple KPI of time hour
Yeah.
return, essentially. And then you say, okay, if I spent that same exact amount of time and hours doing something else, there's another idea that I have. What would the desired result be? It could be cash, it could be
Mm.
time, it could be whatever. And if that time hour is more or less, I will do the one that is better time value.
Do you do it quickly? Do you write it down mentally?
Oh yeah, I write it down. I write it down. I do the actual calculation. I mathematically quantify it. And obviously, it's all based on my judgment. Like
Correct.
I think that this business can work if
Hmm.
we did this with this amount of money. And then I say, oh, that's $60,000 plus 8 hours of Nico's time, 10 hours of my time, times a 6 week. And then I would apply that same rubric to another project. If I applied that same thing here with Nico's time and my time, where would it be? Now, I feel like that's going to be more successful for me, then I'll just stop doing this and I'll go do that. And again, that's because of my end result, though. My end
Correct.
result is very different than other people's. My end result is to um, retire very soon. I'd love to be semi-retired very, very soon.
Oh no, that's actually pretty epic, and I'll start getting some of the fun questions here for you.
Go for
What would you say are some of your favorite books, top 5 books that you've read all time?
it. Top five, man. I can tell you my number one, but I can tell you my first
Oh,
favorite three books. So number
yeah.
one is Hard Things of Hard Things by Ben Horowitz. It's one of my
Okay.
favorite books ever. Like it just shows you the hardships and journey you take building a business from a very kind of a first person point of view. And he loves 90s gangster rap, so he always references 90s gangster rap. And I grew up in the 80s, so I'm an 80s child, so like I grew up listening to 90s gangster rap as well. So it's really fun for me to like have someone quote rappers from my time,
Yeah.
and then tell the business story, which is awesome. And then I love Straight from the Gut, Jack Welch's book,
Mm,
talking about how he's the one who really kind of showed me how to be more utilitarian about time in and time out, and how to like maximize efficiency by percentages of growth. Like he has a very utilitarian view, but he was able to create GE into doing, I don't know. They do everything actually. They do
yeah.
pianos and they do insurance. They do jet fuel and they do like I don't know. They sell everything now, right? But the reason why they're such a large conglomerate is because of Jack Welch and his methodology. And so I would read Straight from the Gut, and then I can't remember the title of it, but it's Your Ship. It's a naval commander wrote
Mm,
it about leadership in the Navy, and that was really cool for me too because it was all around like gathering everyone's um, priorities together, like how to delegate and then command a team to like follow one unison and one vision and purpose. And so that was really powerful. But those are my three favorite books. And then as it relates to other influences, I listen to the All In podcast. That's been
mm.
really fun for me. And then 48 Laws of Power is the fifth one I would recommend.
Fire, fire. I've read that
Mm.
multiple times.
Good.
What would you say has been your most satisfying moment running businesses in the last 5 years?
Oh man, it's the most satisfying. I will say being able to have these conversations with you now. Because I will
Mm,
tell you, when I embarked on this journey of trying to build 20 businesses that make $1 million each in 5 years, that was the goal.
mm,
People thought I was a lunatic. And people literally, my mentors, my friends, my family,
Mhm.
nobody believed me. Not a single person believed me until my second or third year. Then I had 3 or 4 people that I met that were like, "That's insane. Why don't you just do one really well?" And but they loved it and they kept talking to me. And then that grew to like 20, and that grew to 40. And then now I have this collection of people that are like me. And now I've met like-minded people that are doing the same thing. And then now I'm in year 4 or 5, and I have 13 businesses. 7 of them are doing over a million. And so,
Mhm.
like, it's becoming possible. And
Yeah.
so for me, it's really fun to talk about it now because they always say, like, you're only crazy until you're right.
Yeah.
And then you're a genius.
Fact.
And I'm feeling like 85% confident that I'm going to be a genius in the next few years. Again,
Mm.
I'm not a genius. I'm just making the genius mark, right? Like,
Correct. Correct.
that's very validating for me, man, because the
Hmm.
amount of unknowns that I went through the first 4 years was tremendous. People saying I was stupid, essentially. I was
Mm.
dumb. I was stupid. I was wasting my time or energy, and how saying how it's not going to work, all those good things. And then um, now it's kind of coming to a place where it's actually working, and people are actually asking me for my advice.
And last couple of questions here. What would you say, fatherhood has taught you about how to run business, if at all?
Um, yeah, I think that fatherhood has taught perfect timing for that question. Fatherhood has taught me that you have to be who you want your kids to be.
Mm.
So you can't tell them to be good. You can't tell them to have grit. You can't tell them to chase their dreams. You can't tell them to fight for what they want. You can't tell them to be happy or have or be able to fail well or things like that. You have to do it.
Mm.
They will not listen to it if you're not acting the behaviors. They'll see it and they'll feel it. And so when you realize that, then you realize that you can't just operate a business in the way that you want to do it in a book. You have to actually live it. And it's really unfortunate, man. So if you don't have kids, don't have them, because you have to be a good human being, and it's really tiring, and it's exhausting. So I'm just kidding. Have a kid, man. I love my kids. But what it's taught me in business is that I have to be hyper aware of
Mm.
who I am and how I'm perceived by people, especially my kids. And because business is so hard, they're constantly seeing me at my worst, and I still want to be great at
Right.
my worst. Does that make sense?
100%. No, that's a tough position to put yourself in, but the fact that you're thriving already speaks tremendous volumes. And last question I want to ask you: if you had the chance to speak to the 18-year-old version of yourself for 5 minutes, what's some
Yeah.
advice that you would give to yourself to get you on this journey a little bit sooner?
Two things. Learn hard skills. I was so busy playing World of Warcraft and so busy chasing girls that I did not like do this enough. And I wish I did this when I was 18, because when you're 18, your brain is so malleable,
Mm.
and it can ingest so much information and data. And now I'm pushing 50 years old, and I'm like,
Right.
I can barely I could barely learn a new instrument or skill. Like, it just doesn't work as well as it used to. Does that make sense? My
Mm.
brain, my
Hmm.
heart, my mind. It's really hard to teach an old dog new tricks. And if you're young and you're 18, take advantage of that, because it does slow down and it gets more rigid. I'm not saying it's impossible. There's not age is nothing but a number, and I still think you could do it. But it is a slower. It is slower and it's harder. And so if I was 18 again, I would just learn as many hard skills as I could. Communication skills, negotiation skills, financial modeling skills, banking skills, lending skills, diligence
Hmm.
skills, speaking skills, selling skills, marketing skills, inbound and outbound, like all of the gamuts of it. Like, learn as many hard skills as you can collect, because that is just currency later on in your life when you build network.
Mm.
When your friends all become adults, and some of them will become successful, some of them won't, some of them will own small business, some of them will be executives of corporations, but they'll be your network, and your network will be players in the industry. All these skills are things you could sell to them to provide
Mm.
value in exchange for money. That money then you can use to do whatever you want in your life, whether that's building assets for your future and yourself, or for more gaming.
Man, oh my goodness. You dropped so much game. Wow, so much knowledge. Whoo! definitely got to get you back. Oh my goodness. Uh, Thank you, thank you, thank you. And you spoke to me personally. So
Oh
everybody,
yeah.
if you guys found that valuable, like how I did, make sure to drop a like and comment what you like the most, because there were so many gems in there. Young, I appreciate you taking the time out of your busy and hectic schedule for providing the youth, the next generation, so much insight. I love how you explained so many analogies about systems, how your brain works, how you operate, how you show tangibly how you make decisions. I'm sure others that find that way of working is going to be some way, more efficient now that they've learned how somebody who's thriving right now, that they're actually doing the actual work,
Mm,
putting your head down, not looking at how much have you done, but you're just having fun in the process. So definitely appreciate that, guys. Check out the link in the description below to support
mhm,
him. He does have, again, the Girl Dad Show, which is a
mhm,
podcast. He has so many businesses out there. All his websites will show essentially the other stuff that he has going on. So as always, if you enjoyed this conversation, you found it valuable, share with somebody else that you think would also benefit from listening to so many amazing analogies about how to improve your life. With that being said, it's been a phenomenal interview, Young. Once again, thank you so much and have a great night.